we're going to talk about anxiety, because anxiety is a very important topic that not enough people actually talk about. When I was little, I had anxiety and I didn't even know it. I had social anxiety, and that's actually a crazy thing because I'm a very social person. But anxiety includes a lot. You can just be scared for no reason. You start to feel the fight or flight. But anyways, enough about that. I'm actually going to be asking my guest star Jayce here about how her anxiety affects her on the daily. So when did your anxiety start, Jayce?
I think my anxiety maybe started around possibly middle school.
Middle school?
I think so.
That's definitely a very tough time for a lot of us, especially as kids who already felt like outcast before middle school.
Mm-hmm.
So you step into middle school and you're starting to develop hormones and all these crazy emotions. So that's definitely a common time where people start to feel anxiety.
I feel like for me, it was definitely, I feel like the anxiety could have been amplified because before I went into middle school, I was actually homeschooled. So
wow.
I didn't really get to interact with people, and so when I was just thrown into middle school, I started middle school at 8th grade. And so, it was a really tough time for me. I didn't really have a lot of friends. It was really hard for me to try to reach out to people because before I didn't have much experience with it. So.
Okay. So that definitely is a very common. I've had friends who were homeschooled their whole life, and then they entered in middle school. And middle school, like I said, middle school is a very hard time for, I think, just about every person. Okay, so why did you start going to public school?
There were actually some issues that I was having, but something in my mind, I always told myself that I was I want to go to high school. I don't want to stay in homeschool for my whole education and just complete it like that, because I feel like it would have been boring. And I feel like movies like High School Musical really hyped up high school and the idea of going to high school. So in my mind, I was I think going to high school is my thing. I think that's for me. So that's why it was kind of my decision, mostly my decision. I was I want to go to high school. So.
You're I'm going to high school and I'm gonna be living that High School Musical life. That's how you're feeling?
That's how
I feel it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had a goal for yourself where you were not going to be in homeschool, you were going to be in high school. And you're I'm gonna do this. Did you expect your anxiety to kick in? Did you expect to have anxiety during all of that?
Well, the original shift from homeschool to middle school, I thought that it would have been all right for me, and I thought that I would have been able to make friends easily. I thought, I thought it was high school, but not high school yet.
Exactly.
So,
they make high school look so fun on camera, movies and such, and then the next thing you know, your teacher's okay, it's the first day of school and you have a 2-page essay on this subject, and you're wait, what? This isn't High School Musical, this isn't what? Okay, so I'm feeling you, girl, because I went through the same thing. I definitely loved some of my high school experience, but not all of it. Okay, so with your anxiety, did your anxiety make it hard for you to make friends? Were you scared to go up and try to approach yourself to people?
Yeah, mostly when I started middle school, I would just sit by myself because I didn't really have the courage to go up to people and start talking. Or I went to a really bad middle school, and if I did go up to anyone, they'd be oh, why are you trying to talk to me? Stuff like that. So that definitely made it so that I kept to myself a lot more. But there were some people who tried to reach out to me because I feel like some students saw that me being like a new kid was like really difficult. And it's good to have like people support you.
See, I love that. I love when people support you in that kind of way. I actually suffered with depression and anxiety a lot in school for myself. And people constantly came and they tried to make me feel better. And then there's people who just made it worse. So I understand how you're coming from. I used to sit alone a lot of the time. So my biggest issue with making friends is I was scared that people were going to reject me. Is that what you were scared of? That's what your anxiety got kicked up about? Like, and I feel like not enough people realize how many people are terrified of being rejected. And sometimes in life you just have to learn how to deal with that. But the best way to get through it is to, you know, when you get really bad anxiety, what do you do?
You know, I think it's funny because I feel like me personally, I don't really have like a way of like.
Do you just take a few deep breaths and you just kind of calm yourself down?
I just kind of like sit there and like hope for the best, like hope everything is gonna go well, and hopefully I can get out of the situation as quick as possible.
Okay. So speaking of situations like that, what situation have you been in that made your anxiety so bad that you just felt like you were gonna have like an anxiety attack?
Well, if we're talking about like situations, there was this one time okay, so I feel like a lot of anxiety could be put on like being a woman and stuff like that. So
I feel.
There was actually this one time where I was like visiting my sister, and the area wasn't like too nice, I guess, and I was like, it was kind of like an apartment complex, and I was like, you know, just like minding my business, trying to walk to like the place where I had to go.
Exactly.
Which was my sister's
and that's
place.
honestly very scary when you're walking from one place to another in a city. My anxiety goes way up there. Okay, so go on.
And so what made it even worse is that it was night. So then so I got out of my car and I saw this car like kind of like slowly pull up next to me, and I was getting a little scared, and like I saw them like looking at me. So like and they just completely stopped their car, but then they like went into like the complex. And so I just like started walking to where I needed to go, and then like the car pulls like right when I'm at like my sister's apartment store. Like there's some guy that like pulls up right next to me, and he's like, "Oh, hey girl, like what's your number?" And I was like, "No, like I have a boyfriend."
And how old were you at this time?
This was actually not so long ago. It was
not too long ago.
This year actually. I think it was this year in January.
January?
Yeah.
Okay. So at least you weren't underage. A lot of us I actually have a lot of anxiety when it comes to subjects like that because I was being harassed at a younger age.
Oh.
So I actually understand exactly where you're coming from. Anxiety is a terrible thing to experience in life. A lot of us suffer it where we can't even breathe most days. I feel like I'm drowning. So I definitely feel that. And then also being a woman causes a lot of anxiety, especially when you move to the city and you're like, there's so much that could happen. It's very scary, but you also gotta just be strong. So I think we're gonna wrap it up, everybody. Thanks again, Jayce, for being my guest. I'm so excited we were able to have this conversation.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
And that's a cut. Good job, ladies.
Hey. Hey.